Hi, this is Vic Highland. This is number 9 in the series of how to stand up as a guitar teacher. Today I was going to do a little bit of a talk about writing reports. Now that sounds really exciting. Excuse me. But this is one of the things that if you teach in schools you're going to end up having to do, and if you've never done anything like this before, it's a little bit of a learning curve. First thing to say, even with things like the guitar exams, when things started off, what you wrote as your report would have been exactly what you thought, what you saw, and your own comments. And then obviously as time went on with things like accreditation and all the rest of it, you end up having to say things in a particular way, using certain type of phraseology and so on. And of course this actually happens for teachers in schools, where nowadays when you write reports, there are often a comment bank on the computer that you can press on, and lo and behold, up comes the comment that's sort of been vetted as suitable for use within a particular frame of development for the pupil. And I must say there's been a little bit of that with regard to the examining with the RGT, where they've tried to standardise everything. Unfortunately, what happens is you get into that sort of Orwellian doublespeak type of thing, where you say something but not directly, and that tends to be the way that reports are written now. So as an explanation of that, let me say what I mean. If you think somebody has progressed well, you can just say that they've progressed well this term. If somebody hasn't progress well, you could say something like, there has been steady progress over the term, however, or whatever, or there has been some progress noted, or something like that. So it's a little bit obtuse, where you're couching it in positive language, but really you're saying that they haven't done enough work. So this team seems to be the type of way that we sort of end up writing reports now. So what I'm suggesting to make your life easier as a guitar teacher, if you do work for like a public school, independent school, whatever, and you've got to write some reports, the best thing is to have a stock of phrases that you can use that mean certain things. Obviously complimenting children on progress and things that they've done is a good thing. Making a comment about the development of their melodic playing or something like that. You could say something like, Harry has made good progress this term, and there has been a notable improvement in his tonal quality, or something like that. You see, it's a little bit flowery, but in a way that makes it sort of fit into the paradigm of a report. I mean, the days when you can say exactly what you meant are sort of gone, really. To say Harry's been a lazy so-and-so really could do with applying some more time to practice the guitar. Because otherwise, basically what would happen is you might find out there's a good reason that Harry hasn't been able to progress very well, because somebody in the family might have been ill. So you've got to be very careful how you phrase things. If you just say that there has been some progress noted this term, however, if Harry is capable, or if Harry is able to dedicate 20 minutes a day practice, I'm sure that the level of progress would increase dramatically, or something like that. in which case they can turn around and say, well, unfortunately, Uncle Harry's been very ill, and we've been seeing him every weekend, etc., etc. It just puts you in the picture, because generally with children, they might not tell you what's going on at home. There may be very good reasons. There may be problems within between the parents or whatever, and so on. So it's best to do that. So I would suggest then that building up a bank of quotes is really good. If you find somebody who is good at writing reports, see if you can get some ideas from them. I was very lucky, because when I started having to do things like this, which was many years ago now, my wife was a teacher, and she was just brilliant at writing reports, and she could just rattle off fantastic sounding turns of phrase. I can do it now, but I certainly couldn't do it then, and it made it so much easier to have just some ideas like that, or somebody who could be able to put things, somebody who's just a good letter writer, if you know anybody like that, would be very, very good. Having a supply of good sort of report quotes is a good idea. On another angle, which is also making sure the grammar's correct and the spelling is correct. Okay, nowadays with spell checker, it's obviously things are a lot easier than they used to be. But just basically, basic grammar, and then use of things. There's one school that I work at who, if you put exam, they hate that, and they'll send it back, and you have to put examination. So there's a lot of pedantic stuff, which, on the face of it, you think, well, everybody talks like that. They won't talk about the examination, they'll talk about the exams, but you have to do things in a particular way. The other thing is that certain year groups in another school that I teach, you have to address the report to the pupil, not to the parent, but that is only one of the year groups within the entire school. So it gets, all those little twists and turns need to be noted. The other thing I find is that when I'm teaching, it's easier for me to write a report when somebody is sitting in the room with me, even if it's only in rough, because you can just remember when they're in the room exactly what they've done, exactly the type of work they've put in, and you can also just sort of quickly talk to them. So you can draft out your report and then return to that later and then tidy it up. So that's a very important point, I think, is to make sure that your reports are written when they're there. And the other thing, of course, you are being paid for that time instead of doing it in the evening, when you're actually not being paid for wasting your evenings by writing reports. The other little trick is get the creative stuff down, write the stuff down, and then go away and come back and then edit it. Don't try and edit as you're writing it, because I've always found that I get this with my blogs that I write as well. I'll write things down. I might use voice recognition software as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I'll get the idea down, and then I'll come back and I'll edit what I've written. And the other thing I find particularly useful is I say it out loud. So instead of just reading it, I will actually read it out loud, and that helps me a lot to make things coherent. Obviously that's not necessary for everybody, but it is for me, so it's worth trying. I mentioned using voice recognition. I use one called Nuance, which is the old Dragon voice recognition dictation software. And that is very good once you've trained it up, because you can, well, I find actually the best thing to do is write it down on, you know, pen and paper, because I'm much better at writing than I am at typing. And then I will read it out and get the voice recognition to get that down, and then I'll leave it and come back to it, and then and tidy it up, and then it's done. Okay. So there's a few things. The other thing that might be a good idea is to keep copies of things that you've used before, and I know that a lot of teachers find, particularly instrumental teachers who aren't teaching in classrooms, absolutely hate writing reports, and it's one of those things that gets left to the last minute, and then when it's rushed off, it's, you know, you get them coming back and having to be corrected and everything. So once you get into a little format like that, it's very useful. And I've been teaching now for goodness knows how many years. I'm losing track really. Probably about 30 plus 35 years, and I still hate writing reports, but it is a lot easier doing it this way. So, you know, you will never love doing that, just in the same way as you'll never love doing bookwork and, you know, accounts. But these are things that have to be done. Okay, hopefully that's been of use, and I'll speak to you soon. Won't leave it so long. It's been a few months since I did the last video, so I'll be back again, and we'll be discussing some other aspect of teaching that hopefully you'll find useful. So I'll speak to you again soon. Cheers.